Whew. Welcome to Hustle System. My name is Mikhail, and I help people master the mindset, build a better business, and help you live your life on your terms. In this video, I want to talk about how to get that first team member on your team helping you out. If you are scaling your personal brand, if you are building a company, if you have a product to sell, and you're finally at the point where you need to get somebody else to help you, that's what this video is going to be all about. As always, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button down below, and subscribe really means a lot to us. And if you have subscribed but have not yet clicked the notification bell, please click that little bell so you can be notified when I upload more videos. So, your first team member, what's that about? How do you get one, right? So, I get asked this over and over and over again, and here's something that we've done, okay? Over the past 3 months, we built a marketing agency up to 22 people in 3 months, okay? And that includes, clients, that includes all these things, but internally we have 22 different people doing different things from graphics design to production, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't just all VAs in India, too. These are real people that are really committed and bought into the vision. There's some very specific things that I do that I'm going to impart onto you in this video that allowed me to have that super fast, super hyperscale growth, and we're looking to take that to the stratosphere over the next year and a half or so. Really excited to see where that goes. But I remember back in the day when I was just working by myself, and I had to get that first person to help me, and I went on Upwork, and I was looking through all these profiles, and I realized that right now we're in this economy where if you have a scalable business model that works, you can just hire people. That didn't exist before, okay? You couldn't just hire people like from all over the world instantaneously almost, with little to no upkeep cost or downside. So really take advantage of this idea that you can go on Upwork and you can hire someone. Now, there's a lot of management that comes into play for having these Upwork contractors, et cetera, but that's what I did, right? I needed a web developer. I hired a web developer, and I remember I was so excited. I went to my mom like, "Oh my God, I'm supporting a family in India now." And looking back, it was such a silly thing, but I was really proud of that. I was like, "Oh wow, I have a person who works for me. That's kind of cool, And I was really young, and I got this little complex. And of course, there's people that have exponentially larger companies at that age and stuff like that. But for me, it was really cool. Okay, and nowadays the average person has a VA. It's really not that big of a deal, and that's actually where I recommend you start. If you have never hired anyone at all, my recommendation is take a look at how much you earn per hour currently and which tasks you do that are less than that. So take, for example, responding to emails or filtering emails, right? That's such a mundane, annoying task. And really, what's the rate on a task like that? You could totally outsource that for $2, maybe $3 per hour. And if you're getting paid even $20, $25 an hour, well, let's say you spent 10 hours of your time, right, every month or something on email. Well, that's that would be $250, right, if you're doing 25 an hour. But now your VA spends that same amount, and you basically saved yourself $220, right? Instead of spending $250 of your time, you've spent, again, 10 hours times $3 an hour or whatever, even 6 would be 60. 250 minus 60 is 190, so you save yourself $190 by outsourcing that. So that's my recommendation. Step number 1 is get a VA. And what you're going to notice right away is the upkeep and management cost that comes with that. So it's not just the monetary cost, but it's also having to explain the task and break it down in great detail. And that's something that we've gotten really, really good at because when a VA comes in, you have to understand they're sitting in a different country. They might be in the Philippines, they might be in Ukraine, they might be in China, they might be in India, whatever country that they are currently in. And maybe English is not their first language. Actually, most likely English is not their first language. And they're not going to understand a task such as, hey, cleanse my emails, right? They're not going to know what that means. But if you go in and you say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cleanse my emails. Here's how you're going to log in. Here's your login. Here are the subject lines and from addresses that we need to have cleansed. Here are the ones that should absolutely not be cleansed and should be starred and should be put into a special inbox for me to review on a weekly basis. Also, please set a reminder for me to review these on a weekly basis or a daily basis, whatever that looks like. And so now when you open up your email inbox, instead of having, the spam and then boom, and then there's the one important one, you have to star it and you have to go through it. Now you just have your list of 7 to 13 messages that are concrete, and you can go through and you can take those out, respond to those that day, and that's it. Once you've cleaned that out, you've cleaned that out, okay? And this gives you a sense of understanding how to leverage the human economy. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, okay? If you have social media following, or if you don't, okay? So first off, if you do have a social media following, do a call out on an Instagram story. Say, hey, I'm looking for someone to help me with my business. It might be a free position, it might be a paid position, whatever it is that you can afford in your budget, but just do a call out and say, hey, here's my mission statement, here's what I'm doing. If you're pumped about it, go ahead and join us, right? And we've gotten a lot of people just through my Instagram where people say, wow, it's so cool that you're helping entrepreneurs all over the world with this Hustle System free community, which, by the way, if you guys have not checked this out yet, we're gonna include a link down below to the Hustle System community, 100% free to join. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a student, if you're a professional who wants to become an entrepreneur, join that thing, okay? We've got amazing people in there. We drop amazing content. We do interviews. We do challenges. It is a no-brainer to join this thing. So click the link down below, join it. And as a result of us having this mission statement of helping entrepreneurs, we've had countless other people not just join the community, but also offer to work for free or a discount and etc. and help us out to grow this great movement. So because our mission statement is so powerful, we were able to trigger this powerful force, right? They always say, like, if you're gonna play big. Well, that's what we're doing, and that elicits a powerful mission statement, which elicits buy-in, which elicits this sense that people are now a part of something bigger than themselves, right? They're contributing to a global movement, a global vision, and that mission statement is powerful and people really want to attach to that. So if you're having trouble on your social media getting people bought in, it probably means that your mission statement is not big enough. Like, nobody really works for me, right? The way I treat my team is they work with me. We work together to solve these problems. I very much make them equal as a part of the process. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still the boss. I take all the risk, but that doesn't mean I call all the shots. I let them call their own shots. I let them make their own mistakes. I let them learn from it, sometimes on my dime. But that's what creates this really powerful culture that we've built internally in our world, okay? So that's if you do have a social media following. Now, if you don't have a social media following, my recommendation is go through your Rolodex of people that you've met over the last 2 years, okay, or say the last year, that you have in your phone book or that you hang out with, and see how many of them are actually not doing that much with their life. It's ironic because the average person, like, doesn't really do a lot with like, they don't have a lot going on. And so your goal is going to be to build something that's cooler than what they have going on and then get them bought into it. And this is a great way to, again, start a partnership or start a business together. Now, one quick caveat here is if you do it with a friend, make sure that you get really rock solid contracts about what each of your roles are, and make sure that you, I actually usually advise against friends starting businesses together because it creates this really broad gray area of, like, well, you got to hold each other accountable now, but you don't want to mess up the friendship. So that's just something to keep in mind. But if you do go in and have your friends help you, it could also be a lot of fun, right? Because you're pursuing this mission, you're doing this thing together, and when one of you is feeling down, the other one can kind of help boost that morale and vice versa, right? Or when you're winning, you can celebrate the wins together. So just make sure you outline your contractual obligations. Again, I'm not a lawyer, legal disclaimer, et cetera, but you can do it that way, okay? So we've talked about a couple of different ways. Right? Number one is just hire a VA. If you've never hired a VA, just do it now, okay? Just do it today, go on Upwork or whatever other VA site you want to use, and just hire a VA, spend like $50, and just have them do some tasks that you don't enjoy doing that they can do. And or you can even do it on a one-time basis, but get used to this idea that you can trade your money for output. This is a huge phenomenon in business where, again, it's never existed before. You can take your money and you can exchange it for output, and you can trade that output for more money. And that's how a lot of these, like, marketing agencies and web dev agencies are built. I don't necessarily recommend that type of arbitrage as your core business model because it's so easy to disrupt. It doesn't really have a moat. Somebody can always do it cheaper. Somebody can always do it faster. Somebody can always do it better than you, especially at scale. So that's something to keep an eye on. So again, I don't recommend that as a business model, but if you're just starting out, I recommend you test that first. The second part is if you have a following, do an Instagram story, see if someone will just help you out. That's pretty cool. And then if you don't have a following, look inside your immediate circle to see who you can get bought into your mission statement. And that's going to bring us to number 3. And that is this mission statement that I've talked about over and over and over again. If you really take a look at the great companies that are out there, the great movements that are out there, there's always a common theme. And that's this idea of having a powerful mission statement that's larger than just the individual, that's larger than the founder. So the way that I think about it is I'm just the tip of the arrow. I'm just the tip of the arrow for this entrepreneurial movement, okay? This idea that anybody can become an entrepreneur, I think, is beautiful. This idea that it's kind of painful and stressful, and there's a lot of really complicated things that happen emotionally and psychologically, when you become an entrepreneur, I'm also at the tip of that arrow in helping the entrepreneurial community deal with that, the global entrepreneurial community deal with that. So it's a very powerful arrow. I put myself at the tip of that. There's a couple other people that are big in the space that are at the tip of that arrow. I think it's very, very important that we do address these things. And so that immediately creates a sense of rapport that says, look, I want to be a part of this. I want to help fulfill this mission statement that people all over the world can become entrepreneurs. And when they are having their darkest day, somebody can be there for them and say, you know what, man, it's not so bad. You're going to get through it. You know what? Your business might even fail. But you know what? There's always the next day. There's always the next day. There's always the next day. After every single failure, there's an opportunity for you to get back up, brush yourself off, learn from it, and become better so that you never trip up on that same rock again. And that's what we stand for, right? So it's a very powerful mission statement. So if you're having trouble getting by, and again, that third tip is for you to develop a mission statement that is rock solid, that feels global, right? I always think of mission statements like this. I think local. Okay, so first is individual. Individual is I want a car. Okay, that's an individual mission statement. And if you were to go to somebody and say, hey, I want you to help me get a car, right? They're not that bought in because it's an individual mission statement. It doesn't include them in the mission statement. Then there's a local mission statement, right? So that's we want to build a park right there. And it's a lot easier to get people in the locality bought into that, right? Because they're like, oh, we'd like a park. Well, let's build a park, right? But it's still, it's localized. It's local. Then I think, beyond that, I think regional, right? So say, here in California, we want to do X, Y, Z. We want to have this type of thing. Okay, that affects all Californians, right? So again, regional, you're thinking a little bit bigger. You can also think regional as far as like the United States or as far as North America. You can start thinking bigger. And then eventually, as you spread that out, you get to global. What is something that affects all humans, okay, on Earth, right? That's what global means. So an entrepreneur in New York and an entrepreneur in Los Angeles and an entrepreneur in Tokyo and an entrepreneur in Berlin and an entrepreneur in Copenhagen and an entrepreneur in Moscow all share the same pain points, right? Of how do you deal with the psychology of having a bunch of people rely on you? How do you deal with the potential failure? How do you deal with the risk profile? How do you deal with the ups and downs of feast and famine cycles? How do you deal with competition? These are all global principles. And then I think beyond that, I think universal, which is a little bit bigger than just global. It has an energetic component of what do entrepreneurs universally believe, not just within the confines of Earth and our physical realm, but what are some of those constructs? So a good example of that is the desire to do good, right? I think of that as a universal concept, as entrepreneurs want to solve a specific problem by default. And so that's what drives them to become entrepreneurs. And how do we deal with the slingshot effect of really wanting to solve this problem, but then coming up against challenges and still wanting to push through and still having the desire to make a positive impact? So that's what we tap into. So whatever it is that your brand or business is, you need to start thinking along those lines of how big is your mission statement? Because if you're having trouble getting people bought in, it's usually related to the fact that your mission isn't big enough. Your goal doesn't scare you enough, and you need to set a bigger, more audacious goal. Okay? So again, number one, just go and hire somebody on Upwork and understand that, okay, you can exchange $50 for this amount of output. What else could you do that with in your life? That's going to get your gear spinning. Number two is if you have a social media following, do a call out on your Instagram story or do a post. If you don't have an Instagram following or a large following online, then go ahead and just reach out to your immediate network, reach out to 5 people, see if they would be interested. And if they're not interested, ask them why they wouldn't be, they're not interested. And they'll probably say, oh, it's too scary to leave my school, or it's too scary to leave my job. And you'll start to understand how human psychology works so you can craft a more compelling mission statement so you can push people over that edge. And then the third part is, again, work on that mission statement, refine it until it becomes a universal concept within whatever sphere of influence that you want to have for your big point of impact, for your business, for your organization, for your brand, and your mission here on this earth. Appreciate you taking time. As always, this is Hustleism. My name is Mikhail. I have lots of love for you, and that's why I help you master your mindset, build a better business, and help you live your life on your terms. It's been a great video. How to hire your first team member, how to get that person helping you. And once you start playing around with it, you'll be able to get more and more. Your team member might be a puppy. You never know. Appreciate you. Lots of love for you. I'll See you in the next video.